Okay, we're gonna pick where we left off. The uh, numbers I was putting in was changing to a date, so your Excel program is probably going to be set with the same setting. So we're going to hit Control and 1 at the same time, and we're going to click Text, and that should solve the problem. So hit OK, and then to make sure the rest of the cells don't also do that, we're going to drag that down. So now we're going to put in our numbers for our bins. What we want to do is just kind of divide our data set into a couple different categories to kind of evenly spread them out. So there's kind of a set of rules for doing it, but really it's just kind of a judgment call. How can we divide this data up into even parts? So we don't have a lot of data. We just have from 1 to 9. So, 3 or 4 bins or 5 would probably be enough. One rule that we do want to follow with bins is having whole numbers and keeping them all the same. So with that in mind, since we are going to go from 1 to 9, 3 bins seems to make sense. So our first bin is going to hold all the numbers in the data set between 1 and 3. Our next bin is going to hold all the numbers between 4 and 6. And our last bin is going to hold all the numbers between 7 and 9. So we're going to have 3 bins, and we'll just put the frequency of how many numbers we have in each of those data sets. So we're going to put the same thing over here. So we're going to put bins 1 through 3, 4 through 6, and looks like we need to do this same thing we did before. So Control plus, and then click on text. And then we're going to drag down 3 spots. Okay, so let's change that. So that's 1 through 3, 4 through 6, 7 through 9. Okay, so to do the frequency part, we're just going to count how many numbers in our data set fit in that first bin in 1 through 3. So we've got 1, 2, and that's it. So we're going to put a frequency of 2 for that first one. 4 through 6, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers for our middle bin. And 7 through 9, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers for that last one. And so let's see, that adds up to 11. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So now we are ready to graph this. So we're going to press Shift and highlight the whole thing. And then we're going to go to Insert and Recommended Charts. And we're going to do this first one. And so here's our histogram. But we're going to add a couple things. So we're going to click on the plus sign and click Access Titles. And then we also want a legend. And so now we'll unclick the plus, and we're going to double click on where it says Access Title. And this is our bin number, or the bins, and this one will be frequency. And that's it. So tomorrow we're going to do height, so we'll probably want to rename this our height frequency. This will be height and the bins for our different heights. But that is our goal. There's one last thing that we're going to do. So down here for the mean minus 2 standard deviations. So this is really simple. We're just going to make an equation. So we'll put the answer right here. Anytime we want to do an equation, we'll hit equals. And so we're going to take the mean. So we just need to find our mean, which is right here. And then we're going to subtract 2 standard deviations. So we're going to set up a little equation where we do 2 times, and then click on our standard deviation. And we will do, since we're calculating the data set with our class height, we'll use our population standard deviation. And then close that equation and hit enter. And then we're going to do the same thing, but instead of subtract, we're going to add. So we're going to use the same equation down here, so that equals our mean. This time we're going to add 2 standard deviations. So we'll do 2 times standard deviation, close it, and enter. So this gives us the range for our data set, where if we picked any, another number that was like our data, we have a 95% chance of it falling in between the numbers that we already have. So that is it. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow with our data set for the height of our class.